Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Thursday, February 12th, 2026, and today we're talking about working on a farm, like working for a farmer, about remediating the soil of chemicals with plants and resources for mid-size farms, which can also be cool for small farms and gardeners. So let's do it. All right, happy Thursday, everyone. I hope the week has been good for you all so far. The snow and ice is pretty much gone here, and mud season is officially back. Not going to pretend I missed that very much. You know, it's almost just as hard to get anything done when the soil is as wet as it is right now versus when it's covered with a sheet of ice. But the muddiness tends to precede the spring, so at least psychologically it feels like progress. And I should be clear, I don't mean mud like bare soil. We don't really have a lot of that around here. I mean mud like I step practically anywhere on the farm itself, and my foot will sink several inches down. It's like wannabe mud. So yeah, wannabe mud season is here. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the seminar from yesterday from the CFSA Sustainable Ag Conference that we posted. That was fun to do and then fun to be able to share. So big shouts to CFSA for letting me film it. Oh, and a reminder, we've teamed up with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology to help them promote the Great Backyard Bird Count this weekend. Step 1, download the Merlin app. Check for Mike and myself, for sure. Step 2, go out this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and or Monday. You get all these days to choose from, or go for all of them, for at least 15 minutes to see and hear what birds you can find and record them in the app. You don't even have to be able to identify a bird now to be able to do it then. The app will help you. That's kind of what it does. And that's it. You don't even have to, have a backyard to do this. You could do it anywhere outside. They had over 800,000 global participants last year and are shooting for 1 million this year. I can't wait. I love to watch birds. I basically do it 15 minutes every day anyway, so I'm pumped to have the excuse for that. I've also got a decent birding lens, so hopefully I can get some, pictures of that I'll share on Monday. There's been like this awesome set of flickers hanging out, so hopefully I can get a shot of them. Anyway, Thursdays are always fun and wide-ranging for me because, as is our tradition, we take 3 questions from our Patreon members. If you want a good way to support this work and help keep this info free and open to anyone and everyone, you can do so over there at patreon.com/no-till-growers and maybe even post a question for me to answer here. Our first Patreon question of the day comes to us from Patreon member Jesse Turrets, who writes, quote, "Hey Jesse, the recent interview with Jay at Five Tails was great. I love the Five Tails interviews. They are wonderful. And more personally, I got my start years ago doing a quick season at a small farm on the Gold Coast of Australia. Shout out to Farm & Co. Kingscliff. So I love hearing from the great growers down there. The interview got me thinking, would love to hear more about working as a farmhand or even a novice farmer getting their start on someone else's farm. There's a wonderful focus on the business owners, but it might be helpful for some people to know what they were interested in getting their hands dirty on someone else's farm. Thanks as always," end quote. Thanks, Jesse, and I like this topic a lot. It's something I can explore more as well with other interviews and stuff as time goes on. So I really, really think it's valuable to work on farms, just work. Unlike restaurants, far too many people look to start farms without any growing experience at all. And I'm not saying all of those people fail. They definitely don't. But without knowing the work and what all it entails, it's not an easy industry to just like pick up, on the fly or off of YouTube. Sure, farm work does not pay super well, so I get it when people don't start there. Some people just literally can't. I get that. Frankly, farms like mine don't always have or need employees, so opportunities there aren't robust. And to some extent, that's on us. I regret to some extent that we haven't tried to turn this farm into a bigger operation to employ and thus teach more people how to survive in this industry. But there are definitely plenty of farms who have. Well, maybe plenty is a stretch there. There are many farms who have and do have jobs, and it's worth looking into them before, starting your own farm. In fact, there are more now that actually farm in cool ways than there ever were when I started farming. More market gardens, more ecologically minded growers, no-tillage farmers who have employee opportunities, and feel free to post those opportunities at the No-Till Growers Forum, growers. For me, I started out as an apprentice for like 2 years, and I saved a lot of money to be able to do that, working for an entire year and saving most of every paycheck, annoying all of my friends at the time with how few things I was willing to go out and do and spend money on. Now, however, a person who was ambitious to get into an industry like this may indeed be able to find a job that could at least supplement savings fairly well. I've in fact been really impressed with how some farm owners have done things like offer competitive pay, health insurance, even come across some 401ks. There are not a ton of those farms, but they exist now and hopefully increasingly so. Of course, there are also farm owners who can't and don't pay enough for you all to make it make sense, but farm experience, actual hands in the dirt experience is so incredibly valuable. Like if you have to work on a really, really big farm and the only education you gain from that experience is how hard you have to work to make farming viable, I think that's a win, because for me, that was the biggest adjustment. Just learning how physically hard it would be and how hard I would have to push myself sometimes to get a task done, to work in the rain or heat or snow or cold or wind or sometimes all of those all at the same time. Seemingly, I needed to see and experience that physicality for myself. It helped set a tone for me and forced me to think about my economy of motion and not wasting steps, but also how and when to push through and how to just enjoy and earn a break. It's hard though. It can be hard to work for somebody else, especially if you actually do have that sort of entrepreneurial, independent spirit. But if you think of that experience as just that, as experience, as education, then it makes the whole thing that much easier, that much more fun, that much more rewarding in the end. Now, I don't want to discourage anyone who is starting a farm from thinking they cannot do it without experience. I just want to encourage people who can to look at farm work as an amazing opportunity and easier path to farm ownership in the long run. And not to mention a cheaper way to test the waters to see if this whole farming thing, is for you. You can expect it to be hard. You can expect it to be hot, buggy, heavy, all the things, but you can also expect that of your own farm. So working on a farm, again, so long as that is in the cards for you, is a great way to get your body and mind ready for the career you are aiming to pursue. Or you may find that you like being a farm worker and not a farm owner, because oftentimes the farm worker is the one who gets to do all the fun farming stuff, while the farm owner is behind a desk, a phone, or a clipboard for several hours of the week, managing time and money and payroll, etc., like a good business owner has to. Anyway, more on farm working in the future, I'm sure. It's a good and big topic. For now, though, let's take a quick break and then talk a bit about getting those pesky chems out of them's soils. I tried. BRB.
Hey nerds, this is Alex up in snowy New Hampshire, shoveling out when my wife has a 2-hour delay as a teacher, but I do not. I am currently shoveling out my greenhouse because I just realized that the whole front part of it, the ground is frozen, because we have so much snow that I can't get sunlight into that half of the beds. Excited for spring.
Today's episode is brought to you by Certified Naturally Grown. Certified Naturally Grown is the grassroots certification built by farmers for farmers. C&G gives local growers like you recognition for the commitment of producing food without synthetic chemicals by assuring customers that your practices are verified. C&G's peer review inspection model keeps the cost of certification low while creating opportunities for knowledge sharing amongst a strong, supportive network of like-minded farmers. Apply today to be certified before the season ramps up. Applications processed within 7 days. Learn more at naturallygrown.org. All right, back to the show. If you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. Is this work bringing you $2 worth of value a month? $5? Really is amazing and helpful when you all go over there and sign up at patreon.com/no-till-growers. And as a reward, I will answer your questions here on the show. Today's second Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Yao King, who writes, quote, "Hey, Jesse, thanks for answering all of our questions. Your recent podcasts mentioned potentially contaminated soil, so wanted to ask a follow-up. Is there any consensus or even better scientific literature on how long to bioremediate? For example, does planting sunflowers and disposing of the plant materials for 1 year do enough, or does it need to go on for many years? And would you use more than just sunflowers? I'm growing food largely for family and friends and want to plan for the coming year. How long would you remediate for before you'd be comfortable giving the food growing there to loved ones? Thanks," end quote. All right, so the answer to this question depends largely on what we're talking about remediating. So to back up, bioremediation is the act of using plants and or microbes to remove contaminants from soil. And there is plenty of literature around the idea of removing certain contaminants with things like sunflowers, though sunflowers are just particularly efficient. They are considered a hyper accumulator, and there is a lot of interesting research about using sunflowers called phytoremediation when you use plants to do things like clean up, for instance, 95% 5% of uranium contamination in one spot in about 4 weeks, according to one study. I'm going to quote from a good article on the subject of phytoremediation, quote, certain plants have been extensively studied for different applications to remove pollutants. Sunflowers have been used to clean up toxic elements such as copper, cadmium, and radioactive cesium, and strontium at the Chernobyl reactor site. Castor bean, a poisonous plant, has been used to remediate lead and chromium and has also been assessed as a value-added crop for biofuel production. Bamboo has numerous applications for phytoremediation, from removing toxic elements such as heavy metals to reducing the excessive nutrient content of pig slurry. Hemp has commonly been used outside of the U.S. for cleaning up soils from toxic elements like cadmium and others, and often been considered for projects that want to use parts of the plant for value-added crops such as bioenergy or textiles along with phytoremediation, end quote. I added some details in there just for the specifics of what each plant did, but you get the idea. Lots of plants can do this, but I want to be emphatic when I say if you're dealing with serious contamination, you need to consult an expert. Lead and other heavy metals can be highly toxic, so don't make any assumptions here. There is not a hard and fast rule for how long it takes to remediate X contaminant with X crop. That has to be managed with professional guidance. If you're just worried about, that your soil is not up to par, then sure, grow some sunflowers one year. They will bioaccumulate, stray toxins a little bit, and, no real harm in that. But if your soil is legit contaminated, then obviously that's something you need to take to your local ag extension and get good, safe advice on. Bioremediation is an exciting topic in general. The power of our plants, plus fungi and other microbes, have to clean up all the mess that we create is very promising. So many of the best minds in the world go into useless or harmful fields of study. Might I suggest studying bioremediation or ecological restoration to help fix all the negative work of those other great minds? Can you tell I've been reading Moral Ambition? Great book so far, by the way. Anyway, plants are amazing, and I love the question, and I know this goes without saying. Just don't make any assumptions if you are really concerned or if your soil tests are demonstrating serious contamination. I think that's all I've got there. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, mid-sized farming resources and why we should all care, sort of, or at least a little bit. Anyway, be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Tend. Farming is hard, running it shouldn't be. Meet Tend, the purpose-built platform built by farmers for farmers. Plan your season, map your farm, and track every task from seed to sale. No more spreadsheets, no more guesswork, just smart, seamless workflows. Tend adapts to your farm, 1 acre or 100. Real-time inventory, sales, labor, tracking, traceability, and analytics all in one place. You grow food, flowers, fruit, and more. Tend helps you to grow smarter. Start free today at tend.com. That's TEND.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Peaceful Heritage Nursery. If you're looking for hardy and resilient fruit trees, berry plants, or pawpaw trees, then check out Peaceful Heritage Nursery. Peaceful Heritage Nursery LLC is a mail-order nursery shipping premium quality fruit trees and berry plants across the USA. They specialize in resilient, non-GMO plant genetics for small growers. Their diverse selection includes berries, cold hardy figs, passion fruits, gumi, mulberry, and much more. They're famous for their diverse selection of premium quality grafted pawpaw trees. 5-star Google ratings and customer testimonials attest to their commitment to excellence in quality and service. Find them at peacefulheritage.com and join the mailing list. Once again, find them at peacefulheritage.com. Use the promo code NOTILL for 10% off your first order. All right, back to the show. All right, our third and final Patreon question of the day comes to us from Patreon member James Olson, who writes, quote, "My question is if you have any thoughts on or resources to suggest I look into for mid-sized farms. I have about 150 acres of family ground, Zone 9A, California. For 4 generations, we have grown walnuts, but the walnut industry is not doing well. So I have been diversifying into other crops as well as looking to transition the farm to organic certification. I find that there is good information from you and others in the market garden space I can sometimes apply, and the universities support the very large operations well, but not a lot towards mid-size operations like I have." End quote. All right, so this is a great question, and in fact, it has always felt to me like there is a lack of great resources for, like mid-size scale farms. In fact, when I was doing the No-Till Market Garden podcast interview several years ago, I spent a lot of time, at least one season, just trying to find growers at that scale to interview. So I can recommend a few resources, and perhaps some growers in the comments can recommend some others. First, one person in the vegetable world, albeit an East Coaster, who I learned a decent amount from in terms of cover crop implementation, at least, is Steve Groff. I did an interview with him several years ago, and although he does, or at least did, use a small amount of herbicide in his production, his thoughts and experience with cover cropping are really robust. Helen Attow is also one of my favorite orchardists, and she grows mixed vegetables as well, and she wrote The Ecological Farm, which is a wonderful book with some additional resources there. Definitely look to Helen. She's just brilliant. John Kempf, obviously, of the Regenerative Agriculture podcast, is another one to look to for some good continuous information on mid-scale, production all across the board, from veggies to fruits to grains. Acres Magazine and the Acres Eco Ag Conference are also like good things to look to. Their conferences can be rich with growers in that size range. Rodale has obviously done a lot of work with things like cover cropping, which I know you didn't specifically ask about, but often comes up at that scale, as well as large scale organic agriculture over the years. So it could be worth touching base with the Rodale folks to see if you can find some other resources in that vein. Also connect with the folks over at EcoFarm over there in California. Their EcoFarm conference, I think, takes place January every year, something like that. I've never actually been to that one, but I hear it's one of the best, and it's also one of the most well located in terms of beauty, I hear. If it's anywhere near a beach, I feel like I probably need to go to that one at some point. Again, not sure if it is always in January, but it's always in California, and that could be an excellent road to meeting more growers and resources in California in your area. YouTube is so loaded with great seminars and such too, obviously. So searching YouTube for specific topics, but then filtering it, this is the key, to show you the stuff that's over 20 minutes. That's how you get to the good stuff on YouTube. Most YouTubing is like, most YouTubers, they go like 12 or so minutes because that's kind of where the sweet spot is financially, but so little actually really gets presented in that time. But those long seminars that, looks like someone recorded on a cell phone or something, that's where you can find the gold. Anyway, those are some basic ones that come to mind, and I hope others will offer some additional resources in the comments section. We need more mid-sized farms thinking about ecological production, and as growers of any scale, we need to be learning from each other all the time. I often am looking towards, larger and smaller farms alike to see what, I can glean from them, even backyard growers. How can I adapt what they're doing to what I want to do? So anyway, I guess a diversity of resources is as important as a diversity is in anything. With that, I say, let's move on to Friday and say goodnight to Thursday. Good night, Thursday. Don't forget, No-Till Growers is now officially a nonprofit 501c3. Donations are tax deductible, greatly appreciated, and make you awesome. That's a fact. It's in a book somewhere, probably. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and my wife Hannah for absolutely everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at no-tillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, you sign up in the month of February, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs today to Zola. Zola's a fun name. And shouts to Zola, because this is going to continue our story for the week, which you will remember is about our budding Olympian, Jessica, snowboarding Olympian, soccer fan, snowboarding Olympian, anyway, who is headed deep into the mountains for a little sesh with her snowboard team. Now, this is not totally uncommon to go deep into the backcountry and find some hills, mountains really, and trails that no one else really knows about. Nobody else is there. You're not like riding a ski lift and going down compacted snow or whatever. This is like you get the mountain to yourself. It involves things like a helicopter, and it's sort of, dangerous, but people do it. This day, however, the conditions are a little bit iffy, not bad, just that borderline thing where it's like kind of a 50-50 call whether it's a great idea for the amount of fresh snow and the potential for like avalanches and that sort of stuff. But the guides, seems to think that the trip is good to go, so they go for it, and it is amazing. The snow is just absolutely incredible powder, and everyone is having a blast, getting some great clips for their socials, which is important, all the things, and then they hear it. What? Well, that is for tomorrow on What a Ride. Again, I don't know with these titles. I don't know who comes up with them, but we'll find out. Thanks for watching and or listening. We will see you tomorrow for Feedback Friday. That'll be fun.